That is how we say hello and welcome to this hour of CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jersey Mike's, a sub above. I'm Joe Musso, and to my left, the incomparable Brian Campbell, which can only mean one thing. Somebody's getting punched in the mouth on a Saturday night. UFC 258 going down in Vegas, BC. Always great to have you here in building.
Woo! I don't want to say a star was born tonight, but a star took one step up, okay? Get ready for some of that.
That he did. Let's take a look at the main event at 258. Kamaru Usman, Gilbert Burns, welterweight strap on the line. The champion, the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman, making his third title defense, putting a 16-fight win streak on line against a former teammate in Gilbert Burns. Burns riding a 6-fight win streak of his own, BC. No love lost at the center of the ring as these two stared each other down. And then early in the first round, it was Burns landing an early right, BC.
Right there, Joe. We didn't know it at the time. That's the turning point moment of the fight. Kamaru Usman bites down on the mouth guard, takes Gilbert Burns' best shot, and keeps coming. Burns had a tiny bit of a speed advantage, didn't turn into much.
In the second, the speed came from Usman, who landed that jab with regularity, some overhand rights to go with it. Really the turning point physically, maybe not in a mental standpoint, but physically, this is where it changed.
He's looking a lot like prime George St. Pierre after he was working with Freddie Roach. Shout out to Coach Trevor Whitman. This was a different Kamaru Usman, controlling the distance and using that jab, Joe, as a weapon.
And there you see it in the stills. It was a straight right from Usman that put Burns onto the mat, finished it from there, defending his title for a third consecutive time. Kamaru Usman, and still the welterweight champion of the world at UFC 258. Here's a look at the profile. Now 18-1 in his mixed martial arts career that spans multiple organizations. He's the first ever Nigerian-born UFC champion over and over and over. He does it again. Most consecutive wins in the welterweight division. Now stands alone with 13, second to only Anderson Silva with a 16-fight win streak in a different division. BC, fantastic stuff from one of the best in the world. All right, let's break it all down with two of the best. BC to my left, and Sugar Rashad Evans, the Hall of Famer, joining us now. Rashad, only one place to start, and that is with that main event. Kamaru Usman, in convincing fashion, takes down former teammate Gilbert Burns. As we said in the lead up to this one, you're very close to both of these individuals. Just what was that experience like for you as you watch Kamaru Usman take another step and maybe even add some more tricks to the trade, some more tools to the tool shed in his third title defense?
It was a tough one for me to sit back and watch, a lot of feelings going back and forth. But, Kamaru did his thing, and he did exactly what I thought he would do. He used his angles to be able to create some moments in there for himself. Gilbert was bringing a lot of pressure, and because he was bringing so much pressure, it allowed Kamaru to get those angles and then land that jab. Being able to land that jab was the biggest thing for Kamaru, and it was something that he did, not from using pressure forward, but just getting the angle on Gilbert and knowing when the perfect time was. Using that broken time and really became a big problem from Gilbert, because Gilbert likes to sit and wait and try to throw 10 toes down once you get into his range. But once Usman was able to break his timing by breaking with some fakes and feints, it really affected Gilbert's knowing when Kamaru was going to come in to land that big overhand right that caught Kamaru in the first round. So once Kamaru started using broken pace and broken timing, it was just a matter of time before that long, sneaky right was going to get in there, and really daze Gilbert, which it did.
When we look at a fighter, BC, like we're looking at right now in Kamaru Usman at the top of a division, head and shoulders, standing alone, we look to learn something new in each one of these fights. What did you learn new? Because as we said it in the highlight, he ate one early in this fight.
I knew it. What I learned new is that we're talking about a guy who's becoming in front of your eyes a finisher. We don't typically see at 33 a guy who's already in the top 5 pound for pound make this big of a leap to round out his game, specifically in the striking and the offense. But you could have said death taxes in Usman by decision coming in. 9 of his previous 11 fights all went the distance. One of those 2 that didn't, against Colby Covington, did go deep into the 5th round before it was stopped. Here was a guy who could dominate in one facet of the game, take you down, control you there. But eventually you're going to get figured out, right? Well, he's stepping ahead of that with new coach Trevor Whitman, rounding out his offense. And now what you saw building off of that jab to perfection, those right hands were there because of the success of the jab to finish a guy in Gilbert Burns with that pedigree, that reputation, who was that red hot 6 wins in a row. We're talking about a new fighter who's getting better and better. Joe, it's not so much to talk about where does he fit in right now. He's the #1 welterweight. Where does he fit in the sport? That's what we need to talk about from a pound-for-pound standpoint.
And I do want to get to that here in just a moment. Kamaru Usman just putting one foot in front of the other as he now says, bring any and all to me. He took on a friend, a confidant, and a peer in the middle of the octagon, and we learned that no love is lost when you step into the octagon with Kamaru Usman, but we do want to have that pound-for-pound conversation here. Rashad, as you take stock of all divisions here and some of the best in the world, if you take a look at the top of the pound-for-pound list at UFC.com, you learn that Khabib Nurmagomedov is still on that list. Uncle Dana holding on to what he hopes will be win number 30. That's not the conversation I want to have right now.
Wishful thinking, Joe.
Wishful thinking, that is. Rashad, as you take stock of this list, how does this change this list? Where does Kamaru Usman fall on the pound-for-pound UFC rankings right now?
Well, I think you got to put him up there, especially surpassing or at least, getting up there with GSP. I mean, that means something to be able to do that, to be able to set a record that GSP previously held. But, it's the way that Kamaru Usman has been able to do it. For me, that's been just one of my things to say, he deserves to be on this list. Whether it's fighting Jorge Masvidal last minute or stepping in to fight a very tough Gilbert Burns. This guy shies away from no competition, and he's willing to take on all comers in his weight class, the best of the best in his weight class. He's willing to have them all. He doesn't look to get a certain kind of guy with a certain kind of fighting style. He's willing to fight them all. And to me, when I'm thinking about pound for pound and the best, it's a guy who's willing to do that. And that's what we got in Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, look, with Khabib's exit from the sport, which seems inevitable at the moment, I think with this victory, Usman's showing you that he's in this discussion of who's the pound-for-pound best in the world right now. Obviously, John Jones has been atop this list for a long time with a couple hiccups in between when he was in and out of activity. Israel Adesanya is coming, the middleweight champion. He'll fight for the light heavyweight belt next month. But what else does Usman have to do to show us? It's the consistency. It's now the dominance. And if he can become a finisher, as we just talked about, on this level now, we are already, it's not hyperbole, talking about one of the greatest welterweights in UFC history, even though he's only has 3 title defenses up to this point. But he's already approaching some of GSP's records. I think right now, when we go back to the drawing board on Monday and redo the top 10, it's not crazy to have Usman as high as you want to for the moment right now.
After that performance, no, it is not. We have taken notice, but Kamaru Usman wants everybody to take notice. He said in as many words post-fight that he wants people to start putting some respect on his name. There were a couple 4-letter words laced within that statement.
What did Little Kim say? First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the respect.
I think that's what it was. But BC, as we put the respect on his name and sit here and exalt what he just did in that octagon, is there a mismatching right now of the fighter that he is and the skill that he puts forward and the perception of him publicly?
I think that look, this was a big moment for him, not just to get that finish, not just to defeat a real tough out, a live dog on the cards there coming in. But yeah, I like him taking that moment, taking the microphone and saying, hey, everybody, like, can we stop talking about me being a boring fighter? Can we stop talking about me not being a marketable fighter? What else do I have to do in that moment? I think he's been a fighter up to this point who's been more talented than he's been commercially popular. That's going to level out. And look, could you have done anything worse than your opportunity on that microphone after such a big win than call out Jorge Masvidal? That's potentially Usman's biggest meal ticket. Yes, they fought once before in 2020. Masvidal took the fight on short notice. You saw a strong, impressive victory from Usman. Do that a second time. It's a biggest money fight. He already knows he can beat him. But this is what happens. You keep winning, all that other stuff will catch up. And it's catching up quickly right now for Kamaru Usman.
No doubt some name recognition.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.